Hey everybody, so there was a question regarding my process and how I went straight into plastic surgery. That's true. I did not take a gap year basically at any point in my life. I went straight from high school to college, college to med school to residency. Whether I recommend that, I think it's completely different. I saw a different sense of maturity based off of whether you're at a gap year or not saying that if you don't take a gap year, you're immature or anything, but I think that people who took gap years said that they were able to make their application stronger, or they were able to have like experiences that they would not have otherwise had. So I think it's basically your personal preference to some extent, and then to another extent, I think to another extent, it's just kind of like what you think your application status is. So also, I don't know if this is showing my cat, but if I just randomly seem like I'm stroking something, it's because it's him. So for me, my mentality on a lot of things, and whether it's right or wrong, it's just kind of how I think, is I just want to get through things. Granted, why I chose then a 6-year residency is kind of contradicting, but you know, you like what you like and you go for it. And if that meant 6-year residency, then so be it. Off note, there are some plastic surgery programs that are going to like competency based. So just 5 years could be possibly how long it takes for you to become a board certified plastic surgeon, or, you know, finish your residency. So that's something to consider. Regardless, I basically was like, I want to try and go for it because I'd heard stories about people who like took a research year and still didn't match. So for me, I was like, you know, if the research year makes it a guarantee and it increases your chances by a lot, which, I mean, you know, if you get more research in, theoretically it should help, but like hearing those stories is like, I don't know if I want to go through with it, or at least like, you know, give it a shot and see like what would happen if I were to not do it. So that was kind of my mentality. I also, maybe if I had had more people at my home institution who are applying to plastic surgery, or, you know, I had a home program, maybe I would have been more inclined to do the research year. But here I am, you know, the only person in my class who applied to plastic surgery. I had like maybe 1 or 2 people in the year ahead of me to ask for guidance. So maybe I was naive in making my choice, but regardless, for me, I was like, you know, let's try. So throughout my first 2 years of medical school, I was very into research. For me, you know, you study a very long time and it doesn't seem as tangible. Whereas like if you do a research project, you work on something, you learn stuff, and then you apply it, and then you're able to, you know, take it to a conference, you're able to turn it into a paper. And so that kind of, you know, is what I loved about it. I was able to travel. I was able to, you know, discuss with other people regarding like what my research was, and you know, it's nice to have those conversations with people and just meet new people. So I really liked research. The thing is, a lot of it was hem-onc related. Not to say that I specifically had an interest in hematology oncology. My goal for research was basically just to learn how to do research. So through this project, I had amazing mentors, and they, you know, taught me how to use SPSS. They taught me about like how to ask the right questions, how to do research, and like I was, you know, pretty decent at it. And it allowed me to have a leadership experience because I would help other people with these projects. And I really enjoyed that because it just taught me how to talk to more people and how to teach. And I think, you know, when you're in residency, you're gonna have to teach. So I thought that was a good like stepping stone. So I loved my experience. But the problem is that it was not really related to plastic surgery, because I didn't know I wanted to do plastic surgery till I was in my 3rd year of medical school and ended up on the rotation. I had completely dismissed plastic surgery until I saw what it truly was and just saw the variety. I saw the skill, the finesse, you know, like, and I had an amazing mentor. I think at the end of the day, being honest, who you work with can influence what you end up doing. And I think that this mentor that I had could have convinced anyone to do plastic surgery just by how amazing he is. So then I started doing plastic surgery research. I don't even know if I had anything fully completed by the time I'd submitted in plastic surgery, but I had a lot of stuff that was pending. I had stuff that was like submitted. I had some stuff that was like general surgery, and then I tried to do mostly plastic surgery because from what I was hearing, people wanted like specific plastic surgery research. But I think worst case, you know, like they saw that I could pull out research projects, and I think that's what they want to see. Can you take a project and can you complete it? They also want to see, do you have an interest in plastic surgery? So I did not demonstrate that with my first 2 years of research, and I was honest about it. Could it have hurt me? Maybe. Would it have maybe shown more dedication if I, you know, taken that research year? Maybe. But I decided to take the risk. Now, I think it's really important to talk to program directors around you, residents around you, and say, hey, what do you think of my application? Because they're the ones who, you know, look through people's applications, who will say, you know, if I saw this application, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Or like, no, like you need more. And I think having like an honest assessment of your application is important, because you're going to put so much money into this whole application process. You know, you have to pay for the applications, then you have to fly to the interviews, then you have to stay at the hotel, then you have to leave, and you go back to back, and it's exhausting. You have to spend all this money. So getting the most honest assessments of your applications is great. And I'd rather someone be brutally mean and honest to me and save me money than, you know, let me pursue and go further and then risk, you know, losing a bunch of money and time and effort. So I took that risk. I was able to show that I had research, but I had known from the get-go I wanted to do a bunch of research. One, because of the interest, like I said, but also like, you know, and this is what I'd give the advice to anyone, regardless of what you're thinking in terms of specialty. When you go into medical school, act like you're gonna apply to the most competitive thing in the world, because worst case, you end up choosing that's like something that's less competitive and you overdid it, but then who knows, then you match wherever you want in that specialty, or, you know, you can take it easy after. But I think I'd rather look back and think that I worked too hard rather than be like, oh shoot, like I want to do this thing and I didn't work hard enough for it, and now my specialty choice has been influenced. So like that's another reason to do research, and that's what these places want. So that's super important. I think having good letters is really important. So having people who will vouch for you, because the plastic surgery community is just so small. You know, my program's like 2 a year. Like this isn't such a big program compared to other ones. So if you have someone who can vouch for you, then they'll, you know, the people reading your application will be like, oh, I know that person. Oh, they said that. Well, you know, that means something. So I think that's gonna be huge too. Also just try and be in like as normal as possible. Not normal as possible, you know, but be respectful. Don't come off as crazy, and be kind to those on like everyone around you, anyone. Like that should be a given. Like no one is above another in terms of showing respect. Anyone you speak to, whether it's on away rotation, like secretaries, any kind of staff, you treat them with respect, because if anyone sees that you're being disrespectful, like who would want someone like that, you know? And I would hear stories about like how just like the people who would greet you, they would be able to have input and say, oh, this person was rude to me. Like I don't know how much of that is true, but like at the end of the day, you don't want something silly to impact you. You know, sometimes you just aren't thinking about it and you're stressed and you're freaked out, and you may just like say something that didn't come off as kindly. Just be very conscientious of what you're saying. And if you, I think that when I was doing my away rotations, the residents can kind of tell who are the kind of people who they think would be like cutthroat or like not helpful to their colleagues. And being in residency now, you want someone who you can rely on and who's going to be great to work with. They want someone who will mesh with them. So be honest with who you are as well. Like don't try and be what you think that the program wants you to be, but be like your best self, because it is 6 years. And if you have to pretend to be someone else for 6 years, that's going to be hard. So like with my program, they know who I am. I don't think they know how sassy I can be completely, because there's still that level of respect. But you know, a lot of them have, now that I work with them on my plastics rotations, they may see I'm a little sassier, but I'm never rude. I'm always trying to work my hardest. But you know, when you say that your like spirit animal's grumpy cat, like what do you expect? But you know, I want to have an enjoyable 6 years, and that meant being at a program where I felt like I would mesh in with the residents, and thankfully that's what I've got. So this might have been a little bit of a ramble, but hopefully this provided some insight. The option to take a research year or not, I think is hard. I think there are definitely institutions who really push it, and there are people who will say that it's great. I have friends who did it and they love it and they had a great time and they think that it really helped them. Some people are like, I just don't want to take the gamble and lose a year and potentially still not match. So I think it's a hard decision, to be honest. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to do what you think is best for yourself, because you live with the consequences of it. Like, I can tell you to do a research year, but if it doesn't work out, then, you know, that's your year that you lost. Whereas if you make that decision, you know, hey, I want to give myself the best chance, and I think the research year will really do it. And if it doesn't work out, you know, that's a risk I'm willing to take, then, you know, it's your choice, and that's great, and you'll get more research experience. And if you want to, you know, just go for it without the research year, just, you know, go for it too if you feel like that's the best option for you and you feel like other people are supporting you. You know, at the end of the day, just try and make the best guess that you can. At the end of the day, all these applications are a total crapshoot, so you're just trying to make sense of nonsense at some point. So you just do the best that you can. Please let me know if there are any questions or concerns or anything, and stay safe.